The crisp autumn air of the Cascades nipped at Cheryl's cheeks, turning the rosy flush from her hike a touch more vibrant. Sunlight, filtered through a canopy of golden leaves, dappled the forest floor as she hummed a jaunty tune, her backpack bouncing rhythmically with each step. Unknown to Cheryl, a pair of eyes, cold and calculating, watched her from the dense undergrowth. These were the eyes of Ted Bundy, a predator in human clothing. His face, the kind that adorned missing person posters and elicited sympathetic smiles from unsuspecting women, was a meticulously crafted mask, a canvas upon which charm and empathy were painted over a bottomless well of darkness. Today, Ted's act was that of a lost hiker. He emerged from the brush, a crumpled map clutched in his hand, a picture of disorientation. "Excuse me, miss," he began, his voice an expertly modulated blend of concern and politeness. "I seem to have gotten hopelessly turned around. Do you by any chance recognize this trail?" Cheryl, ever the kind soul, stopped readily. Her smile, as bright as the autumn leaves overhead, was a stark contrast to the chilling emptiness in Ted's eyes. She leaned in to examine the map, its creases and markings hinting at a frantic search for direction. "Oh, this looks like the Miners' Ridge Trail," she pointed out, her finger tracing the faded lines. "It's a beautiful hike, but it can get pretty confusing." "Indeed," Ted replied, his voice a touch too smooth, a touch too practiced. "Would you mind terribly pointing me in the right direction? I wouldn't want to spend the night lost in these woods." A flicker of unease crossed Cheryl's mind, a subtle dissonance in the melody of the forest. Ted's gaze lingered a beat too long on the curve of her neck, a hungry glint momentarily replacing the manufactured concern. But, brushing it aside as a trick of the fading light, she offered to guide him back to the main trail. As they descended the slope, the playful banter that had initially flowed between them turned strained. The air grew heavy with an unspoken tension, punctuated only by the rustle of dry leaves underfoot and the unsettling quietude of the encroaching dusk. Suddenly, with the swiftness of a striking viper, Ted lunged. A glint of metal flashed a tire iron, its purpose now as clear as the rising panic in Cheryl's widening eyes. A scream, raw and primal, shattered the stillness of the forest. A desperate struggle ensued, a grotesque ballet of survival played out on the damp earth beneath the indifferent gaze of the evergreens. Cheryl fought with the ferocity of a cornered animal, her nails tearing at Ted's handsome facade, leaving bloody streaks across his perfect image. But Ted, fueled by a dark hunger that defied comprehension, was a force of terrifying power. A sickening crunch of bone, a blood-curdling gasp, and Cheryl's scream was abruptly silenced. The once vibrant forest, now a witness to unspeakable horror, fell into an unnatural silence. The wind, a ghostly presence now, seemed to moan through the trees, carrying the echoes of Cheryl's final struggle deep into the heart of the woods. Days bled into weeks, then months, with no sign of Cheryl. Search parties, their faces etched with grim determination, combed the treacherous terrain, their hopes withering with each passing sunset. They found nothing but disturbed earth, a single blonde hair caught on a thorny branch, and an unsettling emptiness that hung heavy in the air like a shroud. Back in the bustling city, Ted, the charming law student, the helpful neighbor, moved on with his life. He honed his act to an art form, a chameleon seamlessly blending back into the normalcy of society. The monster within, however, remained, a festering darkness hidden behind the mask of a captivating smile. He targeted his next victim, a college student with eyes the color of twilight, luring her in with the same practiced charm, the same feigned vulnerability. His heart, devoid of empathy, reveled in the thrill of the hunt. But fate, a fickle mistress, seemed to have grown weary of Ted's twisted games. A witness, a jogger on a deserted road, caught a fleeting glimpse of a car with a distinctive dent on the fender. A discarded pack of cigarettes, a brand rarely seen outside hunting stores, was found near the trailhead where Cheryl had last been seen. These seemingly insignificant details, like threads in a tapestry, began to weave a chilling picture of a predator. The net, woven with painstaking care by a team of relentless detectives, started to close around Ted. The interrogation room became a battleground. The once confident Ted, the man who could talk his way out of anything, faced a steely-eyed detective whose gaze held the unwavering focus of a predator himself. Cracks began to appear in Ted Bundy's facade, like a mirror spiderweb under a harsh light. His practiced charm faltered, replaced by a flicker of fear in his eyes that betrayed the monster he tried to suppress. His alibis, meticulously constructed like a house of cards, crumbled under the detective's relentless questioning. The carefully curated image of the lost hiker began to unravel, revealing a chilling pattern of inconsistencies. The trial that followed became a media spectacle, a morbid fascination gripping the nation. The handsome face from the missing person posters, now etched with a chilling emptiness, stared out at a jury gripped by a macabre curiosity. Cheryl's case, alongside the harrowing testimonies of other survivors, painted a horrifying portrait of a monster who had walked among them, a predator disguised as a friendly face. As each survivor recounted their terrifying encounters, a collective gasp of horror rippled through the courtroom. The meticulous details, a charming smile, a feigned injury, a glint of metal now formed a macabre mosaic, a chilling signature of Bundy's predations. The prosecution, armed with a mountain of evidence, tire tracks matching Ted's car, fibers from his clothing found at the crime scene, and a witness who placed him near the trailhead on the day Cheryl vanished, presented a case as airtight as a steel trap. Despite Ted's desperate attempts to control the narrative, his carefully constructed defense crumbled under the weight of the evidence. The jury, their faces etched with a mixture of horror and revulsion, reached their verdict swiftly. Ted Bundy, the seemingly ordinary man, was found guilty on multiple counts of kidnapping and murder. But even as he received his sentence, death by electric chair, the true number of victims remained a chilling mystery. The majestic cascades, forever stained with the blood of the innocent, whispered secrets of lives extinguished. In hushed tones, investigators spoke of a potential body count that stretched far beyond the walls of the courtroom. Ted, in a final act of twisted defiance, refused to divulge the locations of his remaining victims, leaving families in a perpetual state of agonizing limbo. Years later, as Ted awaited his execution, a chilling encounter unfolded. Elizabeth Kendall, a former girlfriend who had once harbored a terrifying blindness to his darkness, finally confronted him. Driven by a desperate need for closure, she sat across from the monster she once loved, her eyes filled with a mixture of grief and rage. In a heart-wrenching exchange, she demanded to know where he had hidden the bodies of his victims. But Ted, his eyes devoid of remorse, remained silent. He took his secrets to the grave, leaving behind a legacy of terror and a chilling reminder that the face of evil can lurk beneath the most seemingly innocuous disguise.